seal paper or photo paper with hot glue to put in epoxy resin? Well, that's what I'm going to be trying today, even though I already know that epoxy doesn't really bond to hot glue, but we'll get into that later. For now, let's get into this. Hi everyone! Yes, today is going to be interesting. Instagram has put me up to this, but before we get to the hot glue part, I need to start with my first layer of resin. Today, I'm going to be using Bondcrafter epoxy, and I'm starting by mixing up 2 ounces of epoxy resin. This mold I'm using is pretty shallow, so I don't need much epoxy. I will be running this resin through my air bubble remover in a moment. Since the way I'm going to be making these pieces, I won't be able to fiddle with any air bubbles. I'm also going to be dyeing this resin a really pretty dark navy blue. This resin is going to act kind of like a background, and I need it to be dark to give my photos a bit more contrast. But yeah, like I said, Instagram has put me up to this. I came across a 5-minute craft reel with over 17 million views, and the person in the reel, they were covering a photo with hot glue and then they pierced a hole in it to turn it into a keychain charm. Now, I won't be playing the reel because I don't fully know the rules when it comes to showing other creators' content. I don't want to get in trouble, but here's a screenshot of it, and I will link it in the description box in case you want to see it yourself. But I thought it would be interesting to see what happens if I did the same thing and then put the photos into epoxy resin, especially since 1, this hot glue solidifies matte, and 2, epoxy doesn't bond to hot glue. I've seen a few tutorials in the past where creators use hot glue to make their own molds, so that's why I'm claiming that epoxy doesn't bond to hot glue. I'm just going to have to do this in a way where the hot glue is fully surrounded and immersed in the epoxy. So now I'm going to set this resin aside. I want to let this resin thicken up a bit before I put in the photos, but in the meantime, let's prepare these photos. I have here 3 different types of paper that I want to try this with, and first I have actual photo paper. This is a photo I took a really long time ago in Niagara Falls, and I'm going to be cutting the Skylon Tower out to be the subject of my piece. Then I have this sunset photo. Again, I took this picture myself and I printed it myself on regular 28-pound printer paper with my printer at home. That was a mouthful. And as for this one, this is a sheet of scrapbook paper, which is pretty close to cardstock. This paper is pretty thick and it's from this paper pad I bought at Michael's. I've also gone ahead and made myself a stencil with the same scrapbook paper to help me cut out my photos for my pieces. Okay, so I've actually gone ahead and already cut out my photos. Sorry I didn't film this part, but it is pretty straightforward. I do just want to quickly show you the measurement of the diameter of these, which is around 1.5 inches. If you remember, the diameter of the circles of my mold are 1.75 inches, so there is going to be a little bit of a gap, which has been done on purpose, and I'll explain why when we get there. But the other thing I also do want to point out is I'm going to be using clear hot glue sticks. This potentially could be important since, like I said, this hot glue is going to solidify somewhat matte since I have to spread it. You can buy frosted glue sticks like this one, but I want to increase the likelihood of the photos coming out clear in the resin, so that's why I'm only using the clear hot glue sticks. Alright, so now let's get to hot gluing. So I'm going to take my photo, put it on this parchment paper, and I'm going to put some hot glue on it. Now, I'm not sure how much glue I exactly need, so I am just going to eyeball it, but I do want enough to cover this photo and then some past the edges so that when I turn this over to do the other side, the hot glue from both sides meet and creates that seal so that the resin doesn't ever actually touch the paper. Now I'm going to take the scraper tool and spread the glue like so. I should have cut a bigger piece of parchment paper. This is getting a little messy. I'm just going to quickly see if the photo is fully covered. And no, there's two small spots where I missed, so I'm going to add a little bit more glue, spread it again, and then I'll do the back. I do also have my iron here on the side heating up because once these photos are covered, I'm going to quickly do a pass on each side just to smooth out any lumps and bumps. Now, you might be thinking that this is so much effort to seal paper or photos for resin, and that might be the case. There are easier ways to seal these. I normally laminate them or seal them with a few coats of Mod Podge for my crafts, though if I was to recommend one of those methods, I'd vote for laminating because with the Mod Podge method, it can make the paper floppy, and then depending on how you put your paper in your resin, it can end up curling a bit. I will link a video at the top of this video if you want to see me try those methods and see what I'm talking about with the Mod Podge. But yeah, this is just something I saw and wanted to experiment with. I just wanted to see if this could be another tool we could add to our resin toolbox. Anyways, I don't even know why Instagram keeps pushing hot glue hacks on me. I haven't been going on there much lately, but when I open the app, one of the first videos I see is someone doing something with hot glue. It's weird. Let me know in the comments if you use hot glue in any way for your resin crafts. I am curious to see how this actual photo paper handles the heat from the hot glue, the iron, and the resin. Heat can discolor the inks used in photo paper, so hopefully my photo can resist the heat, especially since it's really old. Okay, so these have all cooled down, so let's see how they look. I did go ahead and do the scrapbook paper one on my own just for time's sake, but so far this looks promising and the ironing did really help get rid of the lumps and bumps. I am seeing quite a few air bubbles, but I will be trimming these down in a moment. Luckily, I'm not seeing any of the air bubbles on the actual image area. Now to trim these. I will only be doing one with you, again for time's sake, and I'm going to cut the excess glue off, leaving a 1 to 2 millimeter edge of glue behind so that I don't break the seal like so. And don't worry, I will be keeping this excess glue. I'm actually currently wondering how I can reuse it in the future. My photos are ready. I'm about to put these in the resin, but I just want to quickly show you how thick the hot glue has made them. I also want to show you how my resin has thickened up. It's nice and tacky. It's been over an hour since I put this resin in the mold. Now I'm going to lay these photos down on my resin and I have to try and keep them centered. I'm not worried about air bubbles getting trapped underneath since this is an experiment, but this is where that gap comes into play. I need to make sure that these don't touch my mold so that the clear resin I'm going to pour in a bit touches the navy blue resin and fully covers the glue from all angles. Doing it this way is going to give me the best chance of the hot glue not being able to detach from the resin. As you can see, I've got the gap there, but I do want to make it a little bit prettier, so I'm going to embellish the edges. I have these little pearls and I'm going to put them right up against the mold around the edge. These little pearls are going to help hide the lip of hot glue I left and give my resin pieces a prettier transition. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it with a few of the pearls, but I will do the rest off camera because this is going to take me a while. Okay, so my little pearls are in. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a good 20 minutes to get them in place. The things we do for art, huh? And I didn't even do all three. But I decided to keep the scrapbook paper piece as is without the pearls just so we can see how the edge looks. But now I've mixed up some more epoxy and I'm going to fill the rest of these cavities up. I'm going to overfill them just a little bit so that I get that domed look. That way I won't have to top coat these once they're cured. This is awesome. The resin is making the matte look from the glue go away. Hopefully it cures that way too. I'm also going to fill another circle with the leftover epoxy and put in a piece of the cut off glue just so we can see how epoxy doesn't bond to the hot glue. I think it's worth showing you. I'm just going to let it float like so. Now I'm going to cover these up and let this resin cure. These pieces are cured now. I'm going to quickly demold them, but before I show you them up close, I want us to take a look first at the clear piece with a bit of hot glue in it. As you can see, the hot glue is embedded in the resin, but if I take my needle tip tool, I'll be able to pull it off. There's a bit of resistance, but it's come out. This is why it was important I got the photos centered and had that gap. If I had made the photos the exact size of the circle, I potentially could have been able to peel the clear resin off the navy blue resin, if that makes sense. So I think this is one of those things where it's up to the user whether or not they see it's worth the time and effort. Obviously, for this experiment, it has worked. My paper and photos haven't absorbed any of the resin. This glue hack has done what I wanted it to, but there are easier ways to seal your photos or papers. But yeah, I'm really happy with how these pieces came out. I'm especially happy that once I did put the clear resin on top, it cleared that foggy matte look of the glue. My little pearls did float a little, but as long as I don't look through the side, I wouldn't even know. Now, one interesting thing I am seeing is that there's these weird blobs on the backs of these pieces, and I'm wondering if the hot glue has actually melted in the process of the resin curing. I'm kind of wishing I had made these fully clear now, but it didn't happen in the clear piece I did make. So this is interesting and weird at the same time. But again, this was just an experiment. My photos didn't absorb any resin, so I'm taking it as a win. And finally, to finish these pieces off, I'm going to take some crazy glue, glue a little magnet to each, and that's it. Once they're dry, I'll stick them to my fridge. I hope you've enjoyed watching this experiment. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you found this video informative and that you've learned something. If you did, then please smash the like button. And if you'd like to see other resin techniques I've done, then be sure to check out one of these videos. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.